So, good morning, everybody. Welcome to a new week, and it's a new small business support group broadcast. I forgot what we did then. So we've had a very, very busy morning. I think everybody has it. We've got Maz. Maz is in the house. We got Mark.
Hey.
And we got Grant, who's on his phone as well. Brilliant.
Hello, sorry, I'm doing my watch party, mate. I'm doing it from.
Trying to sort mine out.
Yeah, you gotta get. My mum's just sent me a text message complaining.
That we weren't started on time.
Where are you?
It's only just 12. It's only just 12. Well, I'm just doing the watch party, so bear with us. So, everybody, did everybody see the broadcast last night?
Oh yeah.
Event television at its best, and it was pre-recorded. Pre-recorded.
Yeah. Who says it's recorded? I mean, I don't get that.
It was pre-recorded. He'd done it in the afternoon. I just find it so impersonal when they do that. I mean, when he first announced the lockdown, it was live.
Well, he had a game of tennis, though, didn't he? So since he had made the announcement, he was straight out. He was on the tennis court as he made the announcement.
He wasn't able to do a live. Oh, forget it. Actually, forget it. I'm going to save it for when I can speak.
Oh, okay. All right, fair enough. Well, yeah. So, and as we joked considerably last night, yes, you can go out, but you can't go out. You can go to work, but you can't go to work. You know, but I've thought about it this morning. I was up very early this morning trying to figure out what I was going to say. Common sense is needed here. You know, and what he was saying, and there's that 50-point document that's coming out, I think in the next half an hour, I think coming out at 12:30, which is supposed to highlight some more details of everything. But common sense, everybody, you know, if you can go to work, but if you can't, stay at home. Anyway, I won't get into that yet. We're going to let Maz kick things off this morning as ever. Are you ready, Maz?
I am.
3, 2, 1, you're live, Maz.
Woo! Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning to our viewers. I hope everybody's well. It's Monday morning. So, we are called United Kingdom, but we've got Scotland and Wales doing their own things differently. So, can't be that united. And, you know, what happened to, we're all in this together. You know, in a time of uncertainty and crisis, would it not be far better if everyone sang from the same hymn sheet? You know, I'm slightly concerned that it's taken Mr. Johnson all week, working night and day, doing everything he can to come up with a plan that most of us could have knocked up in our tea break. You know, it's sad that he couldn't even give a live conference and he had to do a pre-recorded statement of 15 minutes. God knows how many takes he had to do on that. You know, made me think, was it because he didn't want to be ripped apart by the reporters or asked for clarification on this so-called strategy? You know, he hasn't given an update since his girlfriend's given birth. And it's made me think, because he's not a dad who works at Tesco who's allowed 2 weeks paternity. For God's sake, you're the leader of our country, Mr. Johnson. During a pandemic, you know, at least give us some credit and go live and talk about it. You know, my trust in this government is at a very low R number. Stay at home, protect the NHS, save lives slogan. I mean, that's now been dropped and is now stay alert, control the virus, and save lives. For me, terrible slogan, terrible color choice. I mean, green means go. At least have amber if you want us to be alert. You know, the new slogan may as well be, we tried, we failed, just sort it out amongst yourselves, guys. You know, after staying at home for weeks, I wish I'd been more prepared for staying alert. Stay at home was an instruction. Stay alert is just shifting the blame and responsibility, you know, onto us. You can see from the number of the daily infections and deaths that the stay at home hasn't worked properly. So I don't expect the stay alert to work either. I mean, if you look at the number of people going out and behaving irresponsibly, just over the weekend, the lockdown has been totally ineffective. Add that to the scientist and his girlfriend. the member of the cabinet traveling to his second home, then on to see his parents. Not only has the lockdown not been followed, but people who were supposed to be led by example have failed to abide by it. Most of now, I'd like to think that we've wised up to social distancing and are able to make sensible choices when it comes to socializing, shopping, and just how we go to our lives in a safe way. I think there's a lot of information that the government aren't telling us, like where and how people are still being infected, if they're supposed to have been on lockdown for the past few weeks. The other thing is they keep mentioning PPE. There are many people that have been at work for the entirety of this pandemic without PPE, like probation officers, shop workers, essential factory workers, careers, post staff office, and they managed to escape getting sick. It's about time that we were told where the threat is still the greatest. So far we've had inaccurate testing and test results, unconfirmed cause of death statistics, heavy mainstream media propaganda, controlled collapse of global economies, psychologically injuring billions of people to manipulate them through fear and anxiety. They've convinced the public to hide in their homes and be afraid of friends, family, and neighbors. They've offered solutions like mandatory vaccine, microchip tracking systems through 5G, and a new digital currency. I mean, guys, welcome to the new world order. The UK policy now is let's flood the beaches and parks, and if you're not keeping 2 meters apart, we will fine you more than ever before. I mean, whoa, hats off to Boris, because it's a great way for Boris to claim back the furlough money. They're saying 100,000 people will die from this virus by the end of the year, was it? I mean, suppose the worst case happens and 100,000 people die from COVID. I don't know if people realize this. That's about 0.15% of the population. In that struggle to protect this minority, which is failing in a clear, visible way, we are endangering millions by delayed NHS treatments for other complaints, endangering the mental well-being of 7 million people who live alone and see nobody. It looks like England are the guinea pigs, while Scotland, Ireland, and Wales can sit back and watch. I think I'm more worried than ever now. Herd immunity. How can I put it? Herd immunity was tried and frowned upon. Valuable time was wasted. Lockdown was imposed. 7 weeks later, the Treasury realizes that they can't afford furlough for everyone back to work. Unless, obviously, you work in a bar, a theatre, cafe, restaurant. Then don't go to work. It's one of those situations where if you look closer, the door is closed. But it's not locked. Use the handle, open it, out you go. See your friends and family, get back to work, practice safe distancing and good hygiene, wash your hands, carry sanitizers. These things aren't things that we should really be saying. It's common sense, for God's sake. If nothing else, last night's address to the nation really explains with complete clarity why it is that we have the worst record in Europe of dealing with, obviously, this, I don't know, pandemic or coronavirus. So that, I mean, on that note, I'm going to end it because I'm conscious that we have only got 30 minutes, but I'm going to end it on a story about 4 people named Everybody, Somebody, Anybody, and Nobody. There was an important job to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. And it ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done.
That is genius.
I love that little bit at the end.
I was in the nursery song with Humpty Dumpty then at the end.
And they all lived happily ever after.
Got a quote book out this morning. Mark, you're gonna jump straight in there, aren't you, Mark?
Biting at the lid there. Do you know what? It's easy. And I have been a big criticism of the government with PPE, all the rest of it. But it is easy for us to sit there and say, you have not got the right decision. Give me a politician, give me anyone in opposition who could do better. The reason they can't do better, anyone in the world, because we've never come across this before. Yes, the Spanish flu 100 years ago, but I wasn't alive then, and most, well, possibly some politicians were. But the fact is, we've never been here before. And the rest of Europe is starting to waken to the idea of opening doors. China is opening doors. Our economy cannot survive any longer by furloughing people sitting on their fat asses. I'm going to say it because, you know what, I'm self-employed. I work for myself. I have to earn every bit of money. And over the last 7 weeks, I've had to get out there. There have been people posting on Facebook, I'm supposed to go to work tomorrow. My wife is going to go to work tomorrow. My wife's a petition. Who's going to have to earn the kids? Common sense with avails. He never said shops, petitions, all that be open. So your wife's there to look after your kids. The fact is, if you're in manufacturing, if you're in construction, yes, they're asking you to go to work. Now, trade unions are coming out and saying this is wrong. We have not got the health and safety right. Well, health and safety legislation is there already. The only thing you haven't got clarity on is what you should be doing in COVID-19. Now, as Maz says, all the shops that are open for the last 7 weeks stood up and got their act together. So you cannot tell me if you're a business leader in manufacturing or construction, you don't understand what social distance is, what measures you need to put in place. Yes, you may not be able to open today or even next week. The fact is we have to have some sort of plan. And that is what we said ages ago on this meeting. We were getting fed up with no guidance, no understanding of which way the government's going to go. They've laid out the road. It's not the perfect road and it's not the perfect map. The fact is that Scotland, Northern Ireland and the Welsh have decided to do their own thing is irresponsible. The fact is we're united together and we're great together. And we cannot sit around and say this way, that way. We have to start saying the economy will not last. And I know lives are being taken and it is awful. Protect the NHS, give them PPE. We said that from day one. Continue to do it. Get testing up. We said this, get testing up. But social distancing, being safe, all of this, we should be looking to do. The fact is Europe will start producing again. China is starting to produce again. We will become a third world country if we don't start working.
It's everybody's sort of. So I'm just reading some bits and pieces that are coming through here on the message boards. Which is a light. It is sparkling this morning.
It's because of Maz.
It's because of Maz and you, Mark. It's all going. I'm just trying to get him. So I've just as Mark was speaking, then I just dropped it. So I'm just going to just do this little comment that's coming here. So this is from Darren, one of our super viewers down south with the segues. So he's saying, this is what he said, no disrespect, but so many people complaining and understandably, but can people start saying what we should / would do? I'm no Boris fan, but can't see any magic wand or anyone offering solutions instead of using the blame culture. Yeah. UK either wants a nanny state and to be told to the letter when to blow their noses, or they want total freedom. Now, I sort of agree with that. And I'm taking on board everything that Maz and Mark have said so far. I'm interested to see what Grant's going to say. We'll come to him in a second. It is very much, oh, we want the freedom, we want this, we don't want to be told what to do, we want to get on with it and whatever. And then when he says, okay, off you go, but you're going to have these new guidelines. I mean, Scotland have done something different. Wales have done something different. And Ireland have done something different. We've actually just tried. My microphone's really in shot there. Sorry. We've tried to do something slightly different here. And it's been blasted out the water again for trying to do something. Again, I said this the other week, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I'm sure, you know, if you do have, if you've got common sense, then you'll understand what Boris was saying last night. And it's fine. Just stick with it. It'll be good. We'll have some more this afternoon, and it'll be fine. I pointed right there. That looked good. That I like doing. So I'm talking to you. You know, just keep that common sense in there. You know, I think we're all sort of saying the same type of thing. But let's come on. Let's come on to Grant, because he's had a very busy morning, though, haven't you, Grant? But you carry on.
I have. No.
What do you want to say?
So I think that yeah, regardless of what Boris said last night, I don't think anything was a shock, because obviously we'd already talked about this on Friday. So it was the usual, you know, fairly, you know, ambiguous. What he said, it wasn't too specific. Common sense, as we've keep talking about, you know, I'm pretty sure that's in relatively short supply. Particularly across the UK, just based on my experience from this weekend. Actually, I ventured out this weekend to buy some weight equipment, some bench and weights, and so two things. First and foremost, it became really obvious to me. It's actually happened a couple of times in a couple of supermarkets. There are loads of people who were just completely oblivious to social distancing, to you know, using sanitizer. There's absolutely loads of them out. There's no wonder there's still cases all over the place. But that's a different argument. The one thing that I was absolutely delighted about was I stopped off in Shirley, and there was a cafe open in Shirley. And they'd got the whole thing organized so that you could go in, you walk round a sort of a marked out path to get to the counter, or just like when you go into supermarkets, there was 2 meter social distancing lines on the floor. They were preparing coffee, sandwiches, all sort of cafe food. Then you carried on and had a bit where you either stood in the next section or you stood outside. Oh my God, how nice was it to get a proper cup of coffee served from a proper coffee machine, and a big doorstep sandwich. I was just delighted because they used common sense. They did use common sense. I'm not sure whether they were supposed to be doing it because they'd started doing it on Wednesday. So again, bit of a grey area there. They said they'd been really busy, and it was done in a way that tried to manage the situation that we're in, which is completely unprecedented. They've done it in a sensible way, and it stopped the transfer of the virus potentially because of the way that they'd managed it. Now, if everybody just took that approach, we could just start getting back on with things. And I'm hoping that based on what happened last night, businesses are going to start using that information to see how they can now get back to business. If they own a cafe, or a coffee shop, you know, it's proven to me that in most circumstances we can get business going again. Stuff like that, I think, affects, you know, Maz talks about mental health. Just getting out of the house and going and getting a coffee, like opening. Why can't we have McDonald's open? You know, why can't we have the drive-through is perfectly suited to social distancing. It's almost like the perfect, it's like it's been designed with COVID-19 in mind, but yet the drive-throughs are still shut. How could, you know, we've got to get this going, because I think it's going to affect the zeitgeist of the country, to get these kind of places open, get businesses moving again, get the economy moving, start to get a feel-good factor. I've had my whinge. We've had a whinge for the last 2 weeks. We can carry on whinging all we like. It's not going to change the scenario that we're in. We've now got to bounce back. We've got to get business going. We've got to start looking positively, and we need things like these. Cafes, I think, are the perfect example of how we can just get a little lift of our day by doing something that's a bit out of the ordinary. That's going to stop us focusing on the negative and start thinking about how we can get this moving forward.
No, that's another very good point. Anybody want to come back on any points that have been made so far?
Grant, I mean, I think you're spot on, mate. The fact is we have to get back to, we're not going to be normal for months, if not a year yet. And my understanding is JP Morgan and Barclays in Canary Wharf have said they will not be opening their offices until 2021. Yeah, because of the public.
Really?
Yeah, because of the public health issue of traveling on transport. Now, the fact is, we've been asked to not use public transport, but to use bikes, to use walking, and to use your own transport where possible. And a lot of people have come back and criticised Boris by saying, and I'm not the biggest fan, don't get me wrong, but criticised him for saying, well, where's everyone going to put the cars? The fact is, he's just simply stating, let's start doing something. Now, Nicola Sturgeon has just said the clear message is stay at home. Yeah. The first, Minister of Wales has said, if you go to the Brecon Beacons, you will be fined. Yeah. But what they've also pointed out on the news is if you live across the way and you've been told you can exercise, go to parks or the rest of England, and you decide to pop up there, you're going to get arrested by the Welsh police. We are a united kingdom, and yet we are not united in this at all. The fact is, France are starting to open the doors. Italy, more deaths than we've got, are opening doors. This is going to affect us. I've said this on day one. Bigger than the coronavirus is mental health and the economy. The economy cannot survive and give people handouts, because that's what it is right now. 60%, 80%, whatever way you look at it, it is handouts. The government asks for the people to go pick in the fields. I'll get your sandwich, right?
He always gets food.
It's my top thing, number one in lockdown, isn't it? Getting fed every day.
But yeah, and picking in fields, for the fruit that is going rotten right now, Now, how many people are
in those fields, mate? We want pictures of you in those fields picking those fruits.
I'm working. I'm not getting paid by anyone but myself. What my point is how many people on furlough said, do you know what? I'll put my hand up there. Because it's not glamorous, because it's not the second frontier that the NHS need. I don't want to go in fields picking fruits. Yeah.
Can I just interject? I don't want to sound like I'm complaining or I'm whinging. Honestly.
You sound like it.
Well, you are. Anytime anybody ever says that, they're going to. Carry on.
No, honestly, no, it's not that. I'm just annoyed because, like you said, it's common sense. A lot of people have already been going out to work. I've just given you a whole list of the people that have gone out. We didn't need Boris Johnson to do a pre-recorded message to say, yeah, guys, you can go to work. I mean, it's like they've said, if you come into the country now, you've got to quarantine for 14 days. And if you don't, you'll find £1,000. But then on the back of that, they've said, if you're coming from France, you don't need to quarantine. So does that mean that I can go to Timbuktu, from there go to France and come through France and then not be quarantined?
No, you can't do that.
No. Messages. He then said that, go back to work. But then all of a sudden this morning they're saying hairdressers can't open, pubs can't open, restaurants can't open. If you can keep a 2 meter social distancing in Morrison's, go on, Matt. What are you going to say?
No. Carry on. You started the conversation by saying use common sense, but then you're sort of going into that not using common sense again because you're saying hairdressers can't. Well, of course, hairdressers can't because they're closer than 2 meters at the moment.
Open, that's fine. But what about all the other, like pubs and restaurants? Can they not have a 2 meter distance? Or
no, they've got to sort out the problem with their size of their buildings and how much profit they make. They were talking to the theatres this morning. Oh yes, well, in July we can open the theatres because it's social distancing. That's not going to work. If you've got a 300 capacity theatre, you have to fill that theatre to make a profit. If you've got to slip it down all the way to 120 people, you're not going to do it. It's not going to open. So there is something else that's got to come out yet, and that's the way we've got to move forward, which is obviously a vaccine or telling what people had it and who haven't. So we can't take our foot off the gas on that one.
Isn't this a case of, let's measure it and see? Yeah, the fact is, we know that the lockdown, we now know that when we first went into it, the curve started to drop about a week or so after us doing it. Now, the government has said, baby steps, we're going to try this, yes, and if it gets out of hand, we're going to go back to lockdown. The fact is, we've been, as Grant says, whinging, talking on this program. I've been involved in it. We need something. I'm getting bored of this. I need to get out. And, this is what he's given us. He's given us to get out. He's given us the opportunity to prove ourselves. And now we're all up in arms. Now I heard like the union, like whatever his name is, because I just can't deal with them. But yeah, at the end of the day, my members, they need to have clear understanding. Yes, I get health and safety. Health and safety is already, the legislation's already there. The fact, only the difference is with the coronavirus is what steps you take. Now, as I said earlier, the shops, supermarkets, all of them are using 2 meter distancing, are saying wash your hands, use masks. Surely then, this is your guideline. Don't keep on asking the government which way I need to go to do something. You know, they've given us an understanding on where we should go now. And I believe, yes, we do need the government to say it's okay to go outside now, because we were told we couldn't do it. So it is okay, we can go back to work. And that will become clearer as the days go on.
I think he just worded it wrong. I think what he was trying to say, he worded it wrong. And what it is, if you're going to go out and you're going to go back to work, only do it if you can do it safely. It's quite simple. And then, every business can take their own chance and but work out how to move forward. That's not right. Not the correct word. Like Grant and that coffee shop, they've done something. Like Tesco's, which have been open all the way through this, and on all the major supermarkets that they've all got together and they've sat down and worked out, how do we do this? How do we work out? We'll queue them in the car park. We'll make sure we only let this many people in. Tina went and visited Tesco's the first time on Saturday because we couldn't get a click and collect. And I was worried, she was worried, whatever, but she went and she said, I felt so safe when I went there because everybody, all the trolleys are wiped down, hand shower, everybody walk nicely gapped up and down the brilliant. The government haven't said, right, these are guidelines for this. This is how you do it, kids. You have to do no, they've worked it out for themselves. So work it out for yourself. If you've got a business that can have a 2 meter distance, open, just do it, moved forward. But if you can't, stay at home and then work from home. I don't know what the confusion is with it. I really don't. So at this point, I'd just like to say, first of all, a big thank you to Grant, who has designed our new, let me just put my thing up there, our brand new logo, which you can't see because it's on my picture. We've got a brand new logo. Yeah, I know you did. Yeah, I was just, I haven't got the white one up here now, which is a beautiful new logo. And it's green as well, which means green for go. Did you do that, Grant? did you do that? Or did you? Yeah, that was
the psychology of it.
So we're loving the new logo, and we've got a competition we're going to run now. This is very exciting. Pete Shea from Flashback Radio, which is it's a fairly new radio station. I work on there as well. It's been running for a couple of years. We're just sort of hitting the ground now. It's sort of getting 5,000, 6,000 listeners average a week, and it's great. It's out for Solihull and Birmingham, but worldwide as well. We are running a competition. So if you share and like the Small Business Support Group page, you will get, you could win a whole month's advertising on Flashback Radio. So all you have to do is like and share this page, the posters that pinned at the top. We've moved Ben off there now because he's sort of ranting and raving about the wrong things. But so Ben's gone. We've put this up there. So like and share that post, like and share the page. On Friday, we will choose a winner from the shares, and you will get 1 month's worth of advertising done for you, no costs, no production costs. We will do it all ourselves for you to be aired on Flashback Radio, which advertisers run probably 6 or 7 times a day. Be a 30-second slot. You can tell us what you want to say, and we'll broadcast it for you. So like and share the Small Business Support Group page, and we'll pick out of the sharers the winner this Friday, and we're going to do it live on air this Friday. Well, on this show anyway. So that's this Friday.
That means that me, Maz, and Grant should win it.
Can't enter it.
What?
You can't enter it. You can't enter it. You're part of it. Didn't you read the terms and conditions I sent you yesterday? Oh, typical. No one reads the terms and conditions. So do that. What time are we at? Oh, we're on time. Anybody want to make any more points before we move on and end the show?
I think it's time for the news behind the news, mate.
Oh, here we go. We haven't had this for a few days, actually.
No. It's time for the news beyond the news.
He's got something in his back pocket.
Yeah, I
hasn't he?
know I have. Yeah. So I was fascinated and surprised to turn on the Andrew Marr show on Saturday morning, where I was sitting just trying to do a little bit of catch up on what's going on, to see that the statistician, whose name I cannot remember, is the one who had a bit of a ding dong with Boris, apparently last week, because one of his stats was misquoted. What an awesome guy! What a sensible guy! He's got loads of stats all around what's been going on, some of which were absolutely fascinating and in line with a lot of the stuff that I was looking at, because one of my little sort of interests, I would say, throughout this whole process is understanding just how bad this virus is for the majority of the population. And what he said was that we're obviously all concerned about our kids and our children and all that kind of stuff. Only 2 children have actually died out of 10 million from COVID-19. And he suspects both of those had other things that was actually part of it. So he said it's actually more dangerous for your kids to stay at home than actually go about their normal life. In fact, they've got more chance of dying of sudden death syndrome than they have of COVID-19. So for all of those parents that are worried and thinking they need to protect their children, they really don't. The main problem with children is obviously spreading the virus to other people. But you do not need to worry about your kids catching COVID-19 or it being a problem. If you're in your 20s, he was saying it's virtually next to zero as well, the chances of you becoming seriously ill and dying from it. And then as you get older, it does get worse. And obviously there's also other things to do with what ethnicity you are and that kind of stuff. But for the vast majority, if you are over 75 years old, that puts you in the high risk group. And if you're over 90, it starts to become a serious risk to you. If you catch it, then a proper serious risk. But on the whole, listening to him, it just makes me realize the paranoia. Like you for one, Matt, Mr. Paranoid, scared to go out. It's absolute nonsense, mate. It really is. The chances of honestly, mate, this guy, he put it in. The figures are skewed because let's face it, if you're an old person, you are at serious risk of it. An older person, if you're over 75, you're at serious risk. And for example, my parents who are in their early 70s. There's absolutely every reason for them to be super, super cautious and really, really careful about what they do. But for people that are younger, particularly if you're in your, anything up to your sort of 30s, 40s, the chances of you becoming seriously ill and dying from it are really, really, really low, really, really low. And we've locked down the country based on the amount of people that are going to die, but the vast majority of the people that are going to die are over 75. And if you think about it, care homes are like incubators for it. It's no wonder, care homes are just, and it's almost, the lockdown makes it worse. Do you know what I mean? When you've got that scenario.
Right, so I'm just go on. Sorry, carry on.
Sorry, Grant. What is interesting is friend of mine who's a nurse, district nurse and all the rest of it, she was saying that her children will be her saviors because they will catch it and absorb, if you like, the place for the virus to go and will be carriers, as you say. So we need to protect them against the age groups you talked about. But let's 100%. Get for the herd,
herd immunity.
Herd immunity. Get that going.
Okay, look, I've just pulled the figures up now for somewhere, and I understand what you're saying, Grant, and I understand it is, and the figures do prove what you just said. It does say, this is New York on April the 14th. This is the death rate that they had in New York, and it's terrible. All deaths are terrible. They had up to that point they had 6,839 deaths in New York, which actually is quite bad because it's only a couple of square miles across, isn't it? 0 to 17, there was only 3. So you're right there. 75 plus, 3,263. So that's correct as well. 65 to 74, 1,683. But then that range that we're sort of in, which is 45 to 64, there was still 1,500 deaths, and only 59 of them had underlying problems. So that's the actual figures from New York City State. And this guy's saying that, you know, you're perfectly fine within the middle bracket. And I'm only saying this because I'm only protecting myself. So how does that work? How does that work then?
Dense population.
I think that the point is that what he was talking about was children, mate, really. And what I really wanted to get across with this is that there's a lot of people about it. Yeah, well, but I think that the vast majority of people, you know, if you're healthy and you know you've got a good immune system, it might make you ill, but you're not going to die.
No, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're not going to be ill.
You're not going to die.
But I think the thing that really struck home with me was the thing about the children, because there's you know, as soon as that went on last night, there was a thing going around, one of these change.org things where there's a campaign petition to say we don't want to let our kids back this year, you know, and I think that's ridiculous. I think we've got to get the kids back to school as quickly as we can, because you know they need their education. They're not at risk. You know, the teachers, if the teachers are young and in their sort of 20s, 30s, and they're healthy, their risk is really low as well. Really, really low.
All right, then. I'll just, yeah, okay. I don't want my wife to go back to school at all.
No,
I mean, she's obviously not young.
Teachers need to go back to school and actually teach our kids as well. Now, my wife is a key worker, and I'm fortunate that this week and last couple of days last week they've been going to school. I'm very grateful for this, but all they're doing is playing. All they're doing is playing. Hang
on, Mark, have all your kids gone back to school then?
Two of them have.
No, the key
worker.
Yeah, key workers.
And my son, whose school is, and he could have gone. My wife come in earlier, like, you know, she's working local, come in and said she spoke to a fellow officer. Her son is going to school. They're doing half a day of work and half a day doing, and they got like pretty much one-on-one with the teachers. It's a great opportunity for the key workers to get the best out of this, but it should be open to everyone. You know, my wife, bless her, she said if she went to work and started playing tiddlywinks instead of actually getting on with a job as a police officer, what is that about? As you said, Grant, the kids are not at risk. And you know, if our teachers are in the wrong age bracket, again, like the NHS, give them PPE.
But we have got to be really, really sensible about the children interacting with older people, no question. You know, that's the risk, isn't it? And the thing is, what we want to try and do is get this virus under control and the death rate down. It's the older people we've got to protect.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think we need to be, you know, really, really, you know, clear about how we do that. At the moment, it seems to be like this generic policy that's talking about we all need to be alert, stay safe, etc., etc., etc. Well, actually, my view is no, we've got to protect the people that are vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's what we've got to do. Seriously protect those people. And at the moment, it seems to be a cover-all when we don't. It shouldn't be a cover-all because kids are virtually, you know, we don't need to protect the kids. They're fine.
No, okay, that's fair enough. Also, the major point is that when you have parents who are going to go back to work now, and it looks like we're going to have, you know, because you can't fit that many children because of social distancing, unless we're just going to walk clear that and just don't worry about it for kids. But I don't think they can do that. But they're going to have to split up the time and split a week up. So half the school goes in the first half, half the school goes in the second half. So there's sensible ways of doing that. But that then means that if the parents are getting into work because they're safely can get into work, the grandparents have got to come and pick them up because that is the normal way a school runs now. And they won't be able to do that. So one thing seems to trigger another thing.
Yeah, they won't be able to do that. Let's get it clear because a good friend of mine has said, like, kids cannot social distance in primary schools.
No way.
Until they cancel September. Kids are still carriers of COVID-19. Second spike would come if we let it. Absolutely. But at the same time, let's look at what's currently going on. And I cannot talk for everyone, and I'm not having a criticism against my own school. I'm very grateful for what they're doing. But you know what? A friend of mine went to go and pick his daughter up, and my daughter and his daughter holding hands, skipping down the road. Now, you know, that is...
Oh, my God.
That is what they're going to do, yeah? Comes in from, as do other key workers, come in from being exposed to everyone and everyone. They don't know what stage they're at, the COVID, not all the rest of it. And they're exposing me. She does her best. She gets changed in the garage, gets showered, doesn't touch any kids. All the key workers are trying to do this. But the fact is they're still bringing it into our homes. You know, we have to get this testing right. And we have to. They've started looking at this app, start working out in the country where the exposed areas are and treat the country as that. If you've got spikes in Birmingham, in London, and you're massively affected, then you'll need to close again. But you don't have to close the whole economy down if Gloucestershire, Bristol, other places, small densities are able to continue to work because COVID-19 has not spiked in their area. Let's stop blanketing it all this way. Let's start looking and testing the model.
We're just going to see when the lawsuits start, when people start losing closer members of the family because of this, how it's been dealt with. That's going to be next. That will be next. They'll start suing the government or something because
there's no sort of ideal scenario with this. We've got the disease. We've got to deal with it, and we've got to make choices that are difficult. We can't save everyone, but we've got to try and find that balance, because there is no ideal scenario. The ideal scenario is there's no disease, you know, but we've got it. We've got to deal with it, and the ramifications of it. You know, we have to make decisions. And my view is, you know, the thing about common sense that we said right at the beginning is what we need to apply now. Although, you know, and it's the business leaders, really. This is the small business support group. As business leaders, we kind of engage with the public and other business people in a way that, you know, means there are interactions, and it's our responsibility as business owners to make sure that any of those physical interactions are dealt with as safely as possible. And I think, you know, the example of the cafe is what lots of businesses could be doing.
I think the cafe, I mean, I think retail shops will have the easiest way of planning it out. You know, I think that's going to, I think with the shops coming open, that plan can be easily done. I think it's everything else, like schools and like other circumstances like that, where it's pubs and theatres and where there's a majority of people are going, where you can't control them. You can't control a 5-year-old.
Italy, Spain, France, all opening shops.
Never say Germany, did he? We won't say Germany because they've had an increase in the COVID, haven't you? You won't say Germany. They've released the lockdown and it's gone right up.
Well, it will happen here. It will happen here. There's no question. It will happen.
Yeah,
it will.
It's like
whether or not they choose to put up with it or not.
I think of ways to live with this. We won't have the cure for another 18 months. So what do? Do we end up as a third world country because everyone else is trade? They're getting on with it. Yes, they're trying to do their level best to protect lives, but at the same time, they're taking a sensible approach to it. Protect their elderly. This is what Grant has said. Protect their elderly. Protect the vulnerable.
Seems to blaming Grant now.
That's work.
Excellent. Grant has spoken. We must do that.
I wouldn't be vague. Stay alert.
Stay alert. Stay alive. Go to work.
Just stay alert, people. Boo!
Stay at home and work.
Be ready for that. Hope you're alert.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, that is it, people. We are finished for today. 45 minutes. That's a good one. I love it when we get heated. I love it. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
Don't bring Maz on. That's why we get heated. She comes out. She's controversial.
Yeah, she likes to touch paper, then just sits back. You can see her. She sits back. Yeah, deal with that, kids. Deal with that one. Right. We'll see you all tomorrow at 12 o'clock on the Small Business Support Group. Don't forget to like and share the page to get your chance of winning a Flashback Radio advert campaign.
Yay.
See you all tomorrow.
Ciao.
See you guys.